As of today, this is at 895,000 shutter clicks over just 2 years of use.
We're here today to talk to you about the new Z6iii, as well as the current ecosystem of all Nikon cameras. I'm joined today by Liam Good.
Hello, I'm Liam Good.
He is a wedding photographer in our local area here, and one of the only Nikon shooters I know. I feel like they're becoming more popular.
It's growing. I definitely feel like I've become like the Nikon spokesperson in the area. I have many people that come to me and they're like, hey, I'm not happy with this with my system or this. How do you feel about the equivalent of that on the Nikon system? And I can be like, well, let me tell you.
So soon you'll be staffed by Nikon, working in Mississauga at Nikon Canada. But until then, you're here. And we're gonna talk all about, so the Z6iii is obviously the newest edition.
We don't have one here.
We don't have one here.
Probably add.
I think they're shipping, by the time this video is out, they're going to be shipping within a few days, which is awesome. We do have the stand-in, the original Z6, so it's the same, roughly the same physical body size, and that's our stand-in, and then also another stand-in for my ZF. I'm going to use the FM3A.
Oh, nice.
What is your take on the Z6iii as somebody that uses, maybe walk us through your usual kit.
Yeah.
And we can go from there.
I'll start with a little history, actually. I came up on Canon DSLRs. That was my professional, all of my first personal and professional work when I first started getting paid to take pictures, weddings or other things, was Canon DSLRs. Eventually the Sony thing started to happen. The A7 IIIs were out. All of my Canon friends were selling all of their Canon things, so I bought into the Sony system. I got A7 IIIs and some lenses, and I shot my entire 2019 wedding season on A7 IIIs. And the autofocus was incredible, the grip, the files, the buffer speed for my photo and video business was cumbersome, and so then I ended up selling all of my Sony equipment to go to the Z6, which is a weird transition. I feel like a lot of people wouldn't do that, but I got one of these for fun and I started playing around with the files and I started doing the photo video thing, even though at the time this body just has one card slot. And I just really liked the implementation of it. I liked the files, I liked the buffer speed, I liked the straight out of camera video colors and just how that worked into my wedding workflow. I just liked everything about it. So currently I do shoot Nikon. My main camera is the Z9. Most of my work is on the Z9 and the 51-2 here, as well as the Z8 as my second body right here. And then pretty much the only lenses I use are the 50, the 85 1.8, and the 24 1.8, which right now I've got this 14 to 24 2.8 as a stand-in for that lens while it's being repaired. So, and this is a really incredible lens as well. So buy it and hire me, Nikon.
Also, a quick note here, I am releasing a video series on how to get hired to be a speaker at events and how they'll fly you there and how much money you actually make. We go through all of that, as well as talking a lot more about the YouTube educational side of my business and again, how much money you can make doing something like that. So if you are interested, join up to the monthly on the member site right now, because the monthly option will be going away when this course comes out in about a week and a half from now. So that means this is the price rather than this being the price if you sign up right now. So what are your thoughts as someone that shoots these cameras? This is almost at a million shutter presses also.
As of today, this is at 895,000 shutter clicks over just 2 years of use. It's just been 2 years. So this weekend it'll cross 900,000. Probably a couple months from now, it'll be over a million, and
we'll have a party.
We'll have a million shutter click Nikon Z9 party. So again, I feel like I'm not an official. I'm not a Nikon ambassador. I have no affiliation with Nikon. We've already covered it, but I have really no brand loyalty either. I kind of just use whatever the best tool is. This has been the best tool for my business and the way that I do business, for how I capture wedding days. Just having a body that does everything I need and then some gives me the confidence that I feel like I need when photographing days. The buffer speed has been great, everything like that. Followed up by the Z8, I would say is 95% everything I want in the 9. The 9 just has a slightly faster buffer because of the faster card slot, so it stays my main camera. Also, the grip is really nice when using the 50 millimeter lens here. It's just it's just more comfortable on my wrist for long wedding days. So
and full day battery too.
Full day battery is really nice. Coming home from a wedding and only having to plug in, I usually only use one battery on that camera, and then I'll go through one and 25% of like the next battery, so only having to plug in 3 batteries. I can plug this body in at my desk, I can plug the other battery in at its charger, and I can plug that one in its charger. And so if I'm shooting a double or triple wedding weekend, only having to charge 3 batteries and then like 1 or 2 flash batteries is pretty nice, rather than having to stay up all night and switch out my other batteries to make sure they're ready for the morning. So
yeah. So where do you see the new edition of the Z6iii?
Yeah.
Are you going to get one? Maybe that's my first question.
Great question. For me, I'm not going to sell these and jump to a Z6iii. I do want to get a ZF. I really liked how that, that's our stand-in. I borrowed a ZF from NPS just to see if it would be like a good addition to my workflow, and it would be a good third camera body for me. I don't want to use it for a main camera body, that's not for me, but a good third backup, as well as just like a family camera. When I did have it, I brought it everywhere. I did stuff with it, and it was a great A, tool for capturing my kids and everything that they do in their lives, and B, when I would be at like restaurants and parks and stuff, it was actually like a good conversation starter with other people, because they could be like, oh, that camera's so cool, and I could be like, yeah, and it has great features and has a touch screen, and then I would just talk about it forever, and then they'd be like, okay, you know what, that's fine, man, I just wanted to compliment your camera, but all right, talk about it. But all that said, I'm very happy with the introduction of the Z6iii specifically because, like I mentioned earlier, I have a lot of friends that talk to me about their unhappiness with the current system that they're on, but they haven't been ready to go to Nikon because the Z9 and the Z8 they simply feel is too much firepower for them. Basically, they're like,
or too much money also.
Too much money, too many features. They don't need 20 frames per second photo. They don't need 8K raw video. They just need something that's just a little bit less than the Z9 and the Z8, both in terms of features and in price. So even in the conversations I've had with people since the Z6iii was announced, I've basically said, like, this is what you've been waiting for. Like, this is, if these have been too much, but the ZF has been, maybe too little, or the features are great, but maybe the ergonomics, maybe the body's too small, the Z6iii is what you've been waiting for, especially if you're on a Z6ii. I've got a friend who's seconding my wedding on Friday with me. He's got a couple Z6iis, and I sent him the video as soon as it came out, and I was like, it's worth it, trust me.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, you convinced me. Like, it's a really, really good upgrade from the Z6ii. Or if you're still on DSLRs and you've been waiting and waiting, again, these bodies were really expensive, now's your chance. Get the adapter. Your lenses, your DSLR lenses that you love are going to be just as good, if not better, on the Z6iii than they were on your DSLRs. And you're just going to have such a splendid time shooting with mirrorless cameras. It's honestly such a joy. So
yeah,
hopefully I answered the question.
To add to that a little bit, so if I am somebody, maybe I don't have a professional kit yet, and I'm just coming into the industry, I feel like, or if I'm just coming from another system, I feel like the Z6iii, to buy 2 of them and to have the exact same camera body is probably the lowest barrier to entry to get
Definitely.
A kit that can absolutely kind of handle anything in the wedding photo and also video space.
Definitely.
I think we're both still waiting for Nikon video files to be supported by dual card writing.
I am. Nikon, you're listening, please.
And it's a bummer that it's not, but hopefully at some point in the future, I don't know if it's a potential firmware thing or if it has to be, I'm assuming there needs to be circuitry to accommodate that, but that's literally the only sad part of the entire Nikon system right now. Everything else I've been super happy with. I spent a lot of time on the ZF over the past 8-10 months.
Yeah.
And it's been incredible. Using the 51.2 on that is not ideal, but using the 40 f2 is very, very nice.
I've been shooting with the 26 2.8, like the Pancake, a lot, and it's been, for both personal and now professional work lately, it's just been so much fun.
That on a ZF is a really, really good kit. You can, if it's the camera that you have and it's your main camera, you can absolutely get by an entire wedding day using it. It just ergonomically might not be desirable if you're shooting triple wedding weekends, or if you actually are susceptible to getting arm problems like I actually got from using that for, I think, 3 weddings in a row. It was the 50 or the 85 one too. It was something heavy.
Either one of those, they're very heavy.
Yeah. Even with the grip, it was like still a little too front heavy with a kind of a small grip that it actually caused me problems here.
Yeah.
And with the Z6 style grip, which is a little bit larger, even if you don't go for the battery grip, I feel like it's fine.
It's going to balance a lot nicer.
Happier with that.
Yeah.
But you can also get the battery grip for it as well, the Z6iii, and that is, I guess, backwards compatible as well. So if you have a Z6 or a Z6 II, you're able to use that battery grip with it. I would probably say for full day coverage, it might be nice to have on your main camera.
I do find it. I was thinking about it today. This camera plus this lens, I've had this lens for slightly over 2 years, and this camera body now actually. And again, 895,000 photos with it. This is by far the heaviest camera system between Canon DSLRs and the Sony mirrorless. And now this is by far the heaviest thing I have used on a wedding day and for the longest amount of time. And it's over the last 2 years, it's been the least amount of wrist problems I've ever had with a camera system, either because you have that grip, it just kind of like helps balance things out. I would say shout out to my friend Tom Waldenberg. He actually recently, I don't know if he sold them yet, but he loves the ZF so much that after shooting with the Z9 for 2 years, he doesn't shoot video, probably should clarify that, but after shooting with the Z9 for a couple of years, he's actually selling his Z9 bodies just to shoot weddings with the ZFs. And these same lenses and everything, so he's got like 4 arms of steel. It's the dad forearms, I have to say, it must be that. But otherwise, I'm so happy with the introduction of the Z6iii because these came out and they've got, this came out a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago. This came out sometime in 2023. The Z8 came out sometime in 2023. And they've been so great, but they are a lot for people to invest in, both in terms of money and in features. If you don't shoot video, you don't need 8K 60. Most people don't need 8K 60 even if they do.
Have you ever used 8K 60?
I have never used 8K 60. All I need is 4K 60 no crop. Yeah. So that's again why I haven't used the ZF very much. So the Z6iii has that 4K 60 no crop. So what I've been telling people is like, I own these. I'm probably not going to sell my Z8 or my Z9 because I'm just used to them, I'm comfortable with them. But if I didn't have these, the Z6iii is what I would be purchasing, not an 8 or a 9 for the way that I do things. If you love the higher megapixels or anything like that, then go for it. But I think the Z6iii is the perfect body for Nikon to have come out with at this time.
Yeah. Do you shoot on medium raw or anything like that, or do you shoot full size? Good
question. I do shoot on the medium raw option. I found that it's been a pretty minimal trade-off in terms of dynamic range. The files are, so I use 512 cards mostly, and I can shoot 13,000 photos, 13.3 thousand photos on one card, and so that's a lot nicer than a wedding day. If I cut that down, it would be 5 or 6, and I would definitely be changing cards on the day. Whereas these bodies, I almost never change cards on a wedding day, which I feel a lot safer.
Yeah, I'm part of the camp where I never take cards out either, and I will even go to the extent that if this card is getting full in my main camera, I will switch to my second camera to not have to.
Yep.
So I'll switch everything, and this will become my main camera for the day.
I don't know when the paranoia started of that, but like I'm full camp. Like buy the biggest memory cards you can. Don't be switching out a bunch of 16 or 32 gigabyte cards on a wedding day anymore. It's not a fun time. You're so much more susceptible to corruption and losing something than you are with the bigger cards. And then the other reason why I use the medium raw file option on the 2 is buffer speed. It's not a huge difference, but it is just a little bit faster. This body specifically is just like, if I put it on 8 or 10 frames per second, I can shoot hundreds of photos and switch to video 4K 60 no crop with no interruption. Like literally, I've sent videos to many of my friends who are like, hey, I see you use Nikon for shooting photo and video on a wedding day. Why? Like Sony's so much better, Canon's so much better, something like that. And I will literally just take out my phone and I'll just hold this down and I'll just shoot like 300 raw files and then instantly switch to 4K 60 video and be recording, and then switch back and shoot 300 raw files again, and then I'll get a message back that's like, oh, I get it now. So on top of that, once you start editing the files and the video files, they're just really nice, and it's just all a wonderful time. So
that buffer speed is a limitation, I would say, of the ZF, that it's pretty good. But then the limitation is also that it's like the clunky photo video switch. It's like on the dial rather than just the.
I would definitely, if I was using it for hybrid, I would definitely throw the ZF into black and white mode every time instead of switching to video. So
black and white is on the far side. Photo or video is in the middle. I think photo's in the middle, maybe.
Yeah, something
whatever
like that.
It is. There's three options.
I need the dumb person button where there's only 2 options. It's just photo or video. And in the middle of the wedding day, when I'm not even like looking at my camera half the time, I do set up my cameras. This is maybe something to talk about with menus and stuff. I always set my cameras up so that if I have to use them completely one-handed because I'm carrying the bridesmaid's jacket and it's raining and I offer to do that as a helpful thing, but I still have to shoot photo and video as one person, I set up my camera so I can do everything with my right hand without having to go into any menus or anything like that. So that's might actually be another reason why I prefer the 9 as my main body, just having so many more function buttons. But this has got a couple, and the Z6iii has many function buttons as well, so you're all set.
So the summary, if you own a Z8, Z9, probably don't sell it. you're probably the used market's gonna be roughly the same as a new one of these.
Yep.
So it doesn't really make sense in terms of the trade-offs. You are getting, I guess, not silent shutter on the Z6iii.
This is true.
You can use silent shutter if you want, but there is a mechanical shutter in it, whereas the Z8 and Z9 are, there's no mechanical shutter in there, which I'm also curious about what the actual limit is to the Z9. Is it 10 million? Because it's not I don't know.
Great. That's something that I've always been drawn to since the 9 came out, is that lack of having the mechanical shutter and the wear. It's not super common that shutters will fail, especially like in the middle of a wedding day or something like that. But I have had it happen to friends, and it's just one less thing that I have to worry about with these cameras. And any Nikon rep that I've spoken to, they're kind of the same way. They're like,
they don't know.
We don't know. This is kind of a first. Now there's other brands that have a similar offering, or mechanical shutters are kind of going away for a lot of brands, but we'll find out. We'll find out what happens from here.
Z6iii is my new recommendation if you're just coming into the Nikon line.
Yeah.
Start with one or get two if you want to shoot the same camera body. It's very, very nice to have the same camera bodies, and I think it is realistic. I think if I can math correctly in my head, I'm going to say one of these or two of these is the same cost as one of those.
Yeah.
Or maybe even a little bit less. So it might be a consideration if that's in the budget. Otherwise, start with one, rent a second camera if you can't afford to buy two. Definitely have backups, or 3 backups, and also a second photographer with backups on a wedding day.
Totally.
Things do go wrong.
I would also say, like, if you're considering the Z6iii now, or you're like, maybe I'll wait until later in the year, I would say just like get it now. Like if you're at the start of your wedding season or something like that, and you're coming from Z6 or Z6iii or DSLRs, I would say invest as soon as you can, and you'll just have a much more efficient and wonderful time this wedding season. Yeah. So Nikon, sponsor me.
There it is. Any questions, feel free to put them in the comments, and myself or Liam will get back to you. And that's all from us here. Enjoy your Nikon day. Rainbow. And don't forget, if you want to get in on that how to get hired to be a speaker course, we can get paid to be flown around to speak at events, and also a deep dive on the YouTube educational side of my business. Sign up to the member site right now, because once that course goes on sale, you can only join the annual, which is a lot more expensive.